Disguised as ordinary, a hidden gem captures a millionaire's heart. Discover their life-changing connection. In the heart of Maplewood, where every face is familiar and every name spoken like a charm, Clara stood behind the counter of the Heart and Soul Diner. The aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air, but it was her laughter that warmed the place, echoing off the checkered walls. As a single mother, Clara worked tirelessly, day and night, driven by a fierce work ethic instilled in her by her late father, a beloved war veteran. The patrons who filled the diner embraced her with open hearts, a community united, yet fragile. Clara caught a glimpse of her teenage son, Jake, deep in thought at a corner booth. The weight of college dreams hung heavy on his shoulders. He watched his mother struggle, her smile oftentimes a thin veil over her exhaustion, and he felt a deepening concern for their future. "I wish I could help," Jake murmured to himself, contemplating how her sleepless nights and back-breaking hours were pushing them further from the dreams they both held dear. Just as hope felt dim, news hit that a corporate giant was threatening to buy out the diner, the very backbone of their community. Clara's heart raced. The thought of losing the diner, this cherished hub where stories brewed over hot meals, spurred her to action. "I won't let them take this away," she declared to the townsfolk gathered around her, their faces filled with solidarity. Meanwhile, in another world entirely, billionaire businessman Ethan strolled through Maplewood, feeling suffocated by the gilded cage of his wealth. With a desire to escape his jet-setting lifestyle, he took a wrong turn and ended up in the Heart and Soul Diner. Disguised in denim and a faded cap, he felt an inexplicable pull towards Clara. Her warmth and laughter, genuine and raw, struck chords in his heart long muted by superficiality. "You've got to try the pie," she exclaimed, sliding a slice towards him with a twinkle in her eye. For the first time in years, he experienced emotions he thought he'd lost in his pursuit of success: community, connection, hope. Ethan became a fixture in the diner, immersing himself in the lives of the townsfolk, embracing their struggles and triumphs. Clara's heart softened, but caution held her back. "Can I trust him?" she wondered, the question gnawing at her, especially when hiring him could be the key to saving the diner, yet also a path to betrayal. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Clara believed she could face her fears, tragedy struck. A fire erupted in the diner, flames licking the walls that once held laughter. Panic spread through Maplewood as the community rushed to help. Clara's heart shattered as she stood before the ruins of her dreams. Ethan was there, despite Clara's accusations, ready to lend a hand, the tension simmering between them. With the diner a smoldering wreck, Clara faced a choice: accountability or compassion, resentment or hope. As the townsfolk rallied together to rebuild, a question lingered. Could she forgive Ethan, and could they forge a path through the ashes, building something beautiful anew? Clara stood at the crossroads, her heart racing as she weighed her options, the future of Maplewood hanging in the balance. Would they rise together from the ruins, or would they crumble under the weight of doubt? Clara stood at the edge of the ruins, staring into the charred remains of the Heart and Soul Diner. Smoke curled from the remnants, a ghostly reminder of laughter and love that once filled the air. Her heart ached not just for the diner, but for the dreams that had crumbled along with it. Ethan approached, his brows knit with concern, stepping carefully over the debris. "Clara, I'm so sorry about this," he said softly, his voice thick with guilt. "We'll fix this, I promise." She looked at him, the mix of frustration and gratitude swirling within her. "How?" "It's a complete loss, Ethan. The community, it's everything to us." His gaze flickered towards the townsfolk gathering in small groups, their admiring expressions shifting to despair. "I have resources. We can start a fundraiser. Get people involved. I know what the diner means to this town. Her instincts screamed to push him away, to blame him the way she had before, yet the sincerity in his voice gave her pause. Clara glanced at Jake, who stood nearby, a blend of hope and doubt in his young eyes. Could this man, this billionaire who once felt like a world away, be a bridge to something better? You'd really do that? Clara asked guardedly, feeling the weight of her vulnerability. Ethan nodded. Absolutely. I know I'm the one who should have been there to protect it. His expression shifted, something deeper emerging. But I want to be there now. Together, we can make it stronger than before. Clara took a deep breath, uncertainty swirling in her chest. Was it hope, or just a desperate wish? Yet, what was the alternative? To turn away from his outstretched hand would mean standing alone amongst the ashes, a choice that terrified her. As they spoke, the community around them began to ignite with purpose. They moved closer, hands clasping one another in unity. Let us do this for Clara. One voice rang out. Let us rebuild. Another chimed in. The energy shifted. It became contagious. Clara felt a flicker of strength ignite within her. In that moment, tears glistened in her eyes. Okay, she whispered. Let us do it. She reached out, meeting Ethan's gaze. Something unspoken passed between them, a resolve, a commitment to rise from the ashes. The next day, flyers for a fundraiser appeared all over Maplewood. Clara watched as families gathered, bringing baked goods, crafts, and ideas. There was laughter, a beautiful sound that rang against the backdrop of the diner's ruins, reminding her of the spirit that still burned bright in their community. Ethan immersed himself in every task, suggesting entertainment and organizing games. But it was more than just the logistics. It was the way he genuinely engaged with the townsfolk, earning their trust. Watching him bond with Jake made Clara's heart flutter with a strange mix of admiration and fear. She was wary, but also captivated. As the fundraiser day neared, Clara found herself reflecting on her feelings. Could she let him in? Would she risk her heart again? These thoughts plagued her at night, reminding her how vulnerable she truly felt. On the evening of the event, the town square buzzed with energy. Clara stood behind her makeshift stall, a flood of emotions washing over her, hope intertwined with anxiety. She spotted Ethan across the way, dancing with Jake, laughter spilling from them like sunshine. In the midst of all this, a chilling thought struck Clara. What if the fundraiser didn't raise enough? What if it failed? The weight of her fears coiled tightly in her chest as reality sank in. Just then, Ethan glanced her way, and their eyes locked. In his expression, she saw a mix of determination and something else, something that made her heart skip. But was this just the start of something beautiful? Or were the flames of doubt still threatening to consume everything she had begun to rebuild? As the crowd danced and cheered, Clara felt cornered between fear and hope. Could she embrace the possibility of giving her heart, or was she destined to be burned again? And then, as the festivities continued, a stranger stepped into the square, holding a large envelope that could change everything. Clara's heart raced as she watched the stranger stride confidently toward the center of the square. The envelope in his hands was crisp and white, strikingly out of place against the joyful chaos surrounding him. As the music played on, laughter echoed, but all Clara could focus on was that envelope and the air of mystery that clung to the newcomer. Ethan noticed the distraction in her gaze and followed her line of sight. "Do you know him?" he asked, his brow furrowed in curiosity. "No, I've never seen him before," Clara admitted, a knot twisting in her stomach. What could he want? The stranger approached the makeshift stage, his presence commanding attention. The crowd quieted down, sensing something significant was about to happen. The man cleared his throat, his voice booming over the gentle hum of worry. "Ladies and gentlemen of Maplewood," he began, his confidence shining. "My name is Martin Hayes, and I represent the Maplewood Fund, a charity dedicated to uplifting communities just like yours." Clara's heartbeat quickened. A charity? What did they want with them? "I've heard about the devastation of the Heart and Soul Diner, and I understand how valuable it is to your community. Today, I am here to present a donation that could make a real difference in your rebuilding efforts." Interest sparked in the crowd. Clara glanced sideways at Ethan, whose expression mirrored her surprise and skepticism. A murmured undercurrent of speculation swept through the townsfolk. What was the catch? Martin reached into the envelope and revealed a large check, the amounts visible even from the back of the crowd. Clara squinted, trying to make sense of those bold numbers. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she read the total. $50,000. Someone shouted, and gasps of shock rippled through the crowd. Excited chatter erupted. Clara felt the swirling emotions within her shift from dread to exhilaration. Ethan's hand found hers, squeezing it tight. This could change everything, he whispered, a spark igniting in his eyes. But why? Who is he really? Clara asked, still tugged back by her hesitation. I'll find out, Ethan promised, scanning the crowd for any sign of more information. He stepped away, determined to dig deeper. Clara watched him go, her heart pounding not just from the shock of the announcement, but from something else, something intertwined with the way he held her hand just moments ago. As excitement built, Clara and the townspeople surged forward to thank Martin, drawn by the hope that flooded the square. Laughter erupted again, this time layered with joy and astonishment. Clara felt herself swept along, her mind racing with plans and possibilities. Would this really be enough? Could they bring the diner back to life? She found herself standing beside the stage, watching Martin smile at the crowd. We believe in community, he continued, his voice steady and sincere. And our community is only as strong as its most cherished places. The Heart and Soul Diner is one of those places. It deserves to be rebuilt. Behind her, Jake tugged on Clara's sleeve, his eyes shining with excitement. Mom, we're gonna get to eat burgers again, he exclaimed, bouncing on his toes. Yes, buddy, we will, Clara replied, squeezing her son's shoulder. But in her mind, doubt lingered. Was this windfall truly a gift? Or was it simply a distraction from the deeper issues within the town and within herself? Ethan returned, breathless. He*s genuine. He really cares about making this happen, he said, enthusiasm radiating from him like sunlight. For a moment, Clara felt herself teetering on the edge of hope, the thought that their dreams could be realized bringing a surge of warmth. But as the exhilaration enveloped her, another chill crept in. This man who appeared so suddenly, did he really have the community's best interests at heart? Or was there a hidden agenda behind this unexpected fortune? Clara felt herself caught in a tangled web of emotions, excitement battling with suspicion. How could she allow herself to feel this way again? But before she could ponder more, Jake dashed toward Martin. And in that split second, Clara realized they were one step closer to resurrecting their dreams. And just as she pushed those fears aside, urging herself to believe, another stranger emerged from the crowd with an assortment of pamphlets that hinted at secrets best left unspoken. Clara's attention shifted to the newcomer. His tattered coat stood out starkly against the festive surroundings, his hair a wild mess under a faded cap. With a stack of pamphlets in hand, he moved forward, glancing around as if gauging the crowd's interest. Excuse me, he called, his voice crackling with urgency. Have you all heard about the upcoming town council meeting? We need to discuss the donation. That's not the only thing we need to consider. Clara felt an involuntary chill run down her spine. While the crowd was buzzing with excitement over Martin's generosity, this man seemed to carry shadows of doubt. She edged closer, curiosity outweighing her instincts to pull back. Jake was off to the side, still gleefully whispering to Ethan about their future burgers at the diner. The pamphlets were worn, and the words on the cover were smudged but readable. Maplewood, a town worth saving, was printed in bold letters, underscored by an image of the diner before the fire, smiling families sharing meals. Yet, Clara couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding beneath the hopeful imagery. Please, listen, the man continued. The funds are important, but he glanced at Martin nervously. We need to ensure this donation doesn't come with strings attached. Some in the crowd started to murmur again, skepticism creeping in as they regarded the stranger. Clara noticed Martin stiffen for a moment, his demeanor slightly faltering before that charming smile returned. Ethan stepped closer to where Clara was standing, his interest piqued. "What is he talking about?" he asked, searching Clara's eyes for answers. "I don't know, but I think we should find out," she replied, a mix of apprehension and determination swelling in her chest. Martin interjected smoothly, "We are here to help. The Maplewood Fund simply wants to encourage growth and resurgence. Nothing more." His confident tone was met with mixed reactions, a few cheers, but also alarmed whispers as Claire listened closely. The man with the pamphlets struck her as someone who knew more about the situation than he let on. "It's not just about money," he implored, raising his voice above the crowd. "You need to protect your community, or it could all be taken from you without you even knowing." His words were like a dark cloud drifting across the sunlit square, casting a momentary shadow of unease over the jubilation. Clara's gut twisted. Could this man be right? Was the town about to be pulled into a game they didn't understand? "Mister," a voice from the crowd called out, echoing Clara's fears. "Why should we believe you?" "Because I've seen what happens when these donations come in without care," the man replied resolutely. Clara felt something shift within the crowd. It was a sense of alarm that hung in the air. The atmosphere of celebration was faltering. Suddenly, a ruckus erupted among the people gathered near the stage. Clara's heart raced again as she turned her eyes toward the commotion. Someone had confronted Martin, waving their arms angrily. The cheers turned to discord, voices raised in anger and frustration. "Let us not ruin this moment. We need this money," someone shouted, while others echoed concern over possible threats hidden in Martin's charm. Clara's heart was pounding so loud she could barely think straight. The festive atmosphere of the town square teetered on the brink of chaos. As push-and-pull arguments rocked the crowd, Clara realized the stakes of this encounter were far higher than just a check. In the midst of all this uncertainty, she sensed that something bigger was at play than just the fate of the diner. Martin now seemed trapped between validation and desperation. But was that desperation only his, not the town's? Clara was left with an unsettling question. How much of their hope was built on the shifting sands of trust? Just as her resolve began to strengthen, Ethan pulled her attention back. "Clara, we need to figure out who this guy really is." Before it's too late, he grasped her hand tightly, urgency sparking between them. Clara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The answer lay somewhere in the fray, and she needed to uncover it before the chance to rebuild slipped away forever. What secrets had Martin brought with him, and how deep did they run? The temperature of the square seemed to drop, tension hanging in the air like a thick fog. Clara turned her gaze back to the man with the pamphlets, whose fervent words had begun to unravel the festive spirit around them. She could see the fear etched on some faces, while others remained defiantly supportive of Martin. It was the kind of moment where deep emotional divides became painfully evident. "Please," the stranger continued, his voice shaking but unwavering. "This isn't just about a donation. This could mean giving up control over your own home. Just look at Maplewood now, what's left to lose?" Clara felt the weight of those words. She exchanged a hesitant glance with Ethan. A swirl of emotions settled in her stomach, heavy and complex. The excitement they all felt moments ago was gone, replaced by something raw and ugly. People ought to stand together, but fear had a way of splitting them apart. "Let him speak," someone shouted from the back. The call was brave, but Clara sensed it hung on a fragile thread. Martin's smile was still glued to his face, but Clara could see a flicker of annoyance. He leaned into the microphone. "Listen, folks, I understand change is hard." His tone turned syrupy sweet. "But we can't let one voice drown out our chance for growth. Maplewood deserves to thrive." More murmurs rose from the crowd. Clara put both hands on the rail of the stage to steady herself. She couldn't just stand by anymore. She had to know more about Martin, and why this donation felt so very off. Ethan squeezed her hand tighter. "Are you going to?" "I will," Clara interrupted. She stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "No turning back now. What exactly do you mean by thrive, Martin? What's your plan?" Martin's expression twisted. Our plan is to revitalize this town, to ensure a brighter future. With the funds, we'll bring new businesses and life back, but at what cost? The stranger cut in, his voice navigating through the rising frustration of the crowd. You're not asking us. You're telling us. Revitalize might mean selling our land. Are you willing to risk Maplewood's very soul for money? A murmur rolled through the crowd, louder this time. Clara could feel uncertainty buzzing around her like a swarm of bees. The realization struck her hard. The town was on the edge, and they might not even realize what they would lose if they just accepted Martin's supposed gift. As the back and forth heated up, Clara's heart sank. She needed to find out what the truth was behind those pamphlets. There had to be something more beneath the shiny surface of Martin's plan. She glanced back at Ethan. His eyes reflected her own thoughts. Let us go talk to him, she decided. We need answers. Ethan nodded, and together they began weaving through the crowd, making their way toward the man. Every step felt like a leap into the unknown, as if each footfall could shift the very balance of Maplewood itself. But just as they reached the man, a loud crash echoed from the stage, freezing everyone in place. Clara turned just in time to see Martin drop a stack of papers, his face pale. No, it can't be, he gasped. And in that moment, Clara's world tilted even further, the line between friend and foe blurring like clouds before a storm. What was in those papers? What truth was about to explode in a town already on the verge of fracture? Ethan's grip on her hand tightened, a silent agreement to brace for whatever was coming next. The crowd buzzed with curiosity and dread. Clara drew a sharp breath. They were all about to uncover something far darker than anticipated. What secrets lay hidden behind Martin's facade? And how would it change everything they thought they knew? As Martin frantically scrambled to pick up the scattered papers, the atmosphere shifted sharply. The crowd grew silent, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. Clara's heart raced. What could be worth this much panic? She leaned closer to Ethan, whispering, Do you think he is hiding something? I don't know, Ethan replied, his brow furrowed. But whatever it is, it can't be good. Martin's hands shook as he fumbled with the papers, desperately attempting to conceal their contents. The crowd began to murmur, glances exchanging like quicksilver, a growing suspicion settling in around Martin's bright smile. Clara could feel the chill of doubt cutting through the excitement they had felt just moments ago. Let us help him, shouted a woman from the front, stepping forward with urgency. No, Martin snapped, his voice rising sharply, betraying a flicker of vulnerability. He hurriedly stacked the papers, his eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. Why are you so scared? Clara couldn't help but voice her frustration. If you're here to help us, then what's the problem, right? If you have nothing to hide, share with us. Came another voice from the crowd, emboldening others to step closer. Martin paused, his jaw tightening. He knew he was losing control. Please, let us not turn this into something it's not, he pleaded, attempting to regain his charismatic composure. But the very foundation of Maplewood's trust was starting to crumble beneath him. Clara stepped up, pushing through the throngs of onlookers. Everyone deserves to understand what's happening. We deserve transparency. She turned to Martin, locking eyes with him. What's in those papers? For a brief moment, Clara sensed a flicker of hesitation in Martin's eyes, as if he weighed the options of survival against revelation. The crowd grew restless, their collective judgment sharpening at the edges. With a resigned sigh, Martin held up one of the papers. It's just projections, economic assessments, growth plans, he stammered, but the tremor in his voice was evident. Nothing you need to worry about, liar, the stranger from before shouted. If it's nothing, then why the fear? We deserve answers, not vague assurances. Realizing this was slipping out of his control, a glint of anger flashed in Martin's eyes. You don't understand, he barked. This is bigger than all of you. Maplewood is at the brink of failure, and I'm trying to save it. But instead of rallying support, a few gasps echoed through the square. Clara's heart sank as she perceived how easily worry transformed into panic. Were they really on the edge of a cliff? She couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more lurking behind those projections, something darker that Martin hadn't disclosed yet. Another voice broke through the tension. What do you mean, bigger than us? It was a young man with a determined expression. We are Maplewood. You can't just come here and dictate our future. The mood shifted from doubt to anger, the sense of solidarity uniting them against the rising tide of fear. Clara felt a surge of hope mixed with dread. Was there still time to save their town from falling into the abyss Martin implied? I'll show you, Martin suddenly declared, an unexpected determination glimmering in his eyes. But you need to promise to listen, to keep an open mind. The crowd stirred, caught between intrigue and skepticism. Clara exchanged a glance with Ethan, who appeared bewildered but ready to follow her lead. Okay, she replied, her voice steady. We'll listen, but you better be honest with us this time. As Martin began to explain, the tension was palpable. Clara realized that this moment could alter everything. What danger could unfold, and more importantly, what truths awaited in the shadows of Maplewood. In the unfolding silence, a haunting question loomed. Was transparency the key to their salvation, or just another illusion wrapped in glittering promises? Martin took a deep breath, regaining his composure as the murmurs faded into an uneasy silence. All right, he said, his voice steadier now. But I need you all to put aside your fears for a moment and trust me. He spread the papers across the wire-framed podium, revealing different charts and graphs that led down a pathway of spiraling numbers. What I'm about to show you is not just about Maplewood's future. It's about survival. The crowd leaned in, eyes fixated on the images before them. Clara felt her heart race again, but this time it was mixed with curiosity. Little by little, she felt the tension in the air change from anger to intrigue, as whispers swapped out accusations for curiosity. Look here, Martin pointed to one of the graphs, his finger trembling slightly. This isn't just about Maplewood's economy. It's about the entire region, and it's crashing. We've been mismanaged for years, and if we don't act now, we'll lose everything. His voice climbed in intensity. Jobs, homes, everything. Mismanaged? By whom? Shouted the young man from earlier, his skepticism still simmering beneath the surface. By those who came before us, Martin snapped, and some who still hold the reins. The truth is, we're on the brink of economic collapse, and I've got an idea that just might save us, but it requires... Clara felt a heavy weight in her stomach. What could he possibly suggest? In a town where community was everything, would sacrifice be necessary? She glanced around at the faces in the crowd. Most looked terrified, eyes wide with fear as they absorbed the gravity of Martin's words. But how can we even trust this information? A woman in the back shouted. Everything looks good on paper. We need action. Martin's face flushed with frustration. I know. I understand that. But if we don't start from the ground up, we'll be digging ourselves deeper into a hole we can't climb out of. In that moment, Clara felt a flicker of determination surge through her. There has to be a way. Together we can pull this off. If we have the knowledge, we can make smart choices. We can save Maplewood. The crowd began to stir, energized by her words. The weight of despair seemed to lift, replaced by a newfound sense of hope. Others around her nodded in agreement, their fear slowly evolving into determination. I'll help, a voice called out from the back. I can't stand to see this place go under. I have some contacts I can reach out to. Me too, shouted another, and before Clara knew it, hands shot up in fervor, voices mingling into a rising chorus of support. Martin's expression softened, as though he could finally see a glimmer of possibility on the horizon. Okay, Martin said, allowing a small smile to break through his worried demeanor. Then let us work together. I'll share everything I know. But I need your commitment. Your hearts have to be in this too. As they all gathered closer, Clara felt a thrill of excitement. Perhaps this was the beginning of a real fight to save their beloved town. But just as they all began to exchange ideas and plans, a deafening crash echoed through the square. The crowd fell silent once again, heads turning in shock at the noise. What was that? Ethan whispered, tension creeping back into their midst. Martin's eyes widened, the confidence in his stance flickering. No, can't be. Clara's heart raced anew. What had just happened? She felt the familiar chill of fear return, chilling her bones. Was this a sign? What had Martin really unleashed about their future? And would they be ready for whatever storm was coming? The sound of shattering glass echoed through the square, the reverberation slicing through the hopeful energy that had just begun to build. Clara instinctively turned towards the source, heart pounding as she caught sight of a crumpled street vendor's cart, a victim of some unseen disaster. The metal frame groaned under the weight of its toppled goods, scattered into the air like confetti. What happened? Someone shouted, panic creeping back into their voices. Martin seemed to lose his grip on the moment. His eyes searched the crowd before running towards the debris, instinct pushing him forward. Clara hesitated, then followed, her legs moving before her mind could ponder any further. As they approached, she saw the shattered remains of the cart and the vendor, an elderly man whose face was contorted in pain as he clutched at his arm. Clara knelt beside him. "Are you okay?" she asked, feeling a wave of concern wash over her. "Just a little shaken up," he groaned, but his voice was shaky, revealing the fear beneath his bravado. "Damn kids driving too fast again." Clara glanced around. A group of teens were gathered at the far end of the square, snickering and nudging each other, clearly pleased with the chaos they caused. Her stomach twisted with anger. "What kind of reckless behavior is this?" she hissed. "Clara!" Martin called from a distance as he crouched beside the vendor, checking for more injuries. She turned to watch him, his brow furrowed in concentration. The energy he exuded in their earlier discussion now faded to an urgent focus on the present. "They need to go. This is unacceptable," she said, her voice sharper than intended. She pushed herself up, ready to confront the group when Martin shook his head. "Let it go," he said softly, though it was laced with an underlying tension. "We need to tend to the community first. We can't let this divide us when we're just starting to come together." His words cut through her anger, bringing a wave of clarity. She could see the resolve etched into Martin's face, the strength he had found just moments before they were interrupted. She wanted to fight this battle, but perhaps Martin was right. They had to stand united first. "Let us get you checked out, sir," Martin replied to the vendor, tenderness lacing his voice. As the older man accepted Martin's hand, Clara felt a warmth swell in her chest. Maybe there was something hopeful in how their community could respond to crisis, an opportunity to build bridges, now made of compassion. As they assisted the vendor up to a nearby bench, Clara turned back. The teens were dissolving into the crowd, their laughter fading away like a ghost, but the chaos they left behind hung in the air. Martin gathered them around again, his focus shifting. "Look, we can't let this be another distraction. We need to come up with a plan, an actionable plan that brings our community together and makes it stronger." Hope flickered to life once more. They could turn this around. Clara nodded to those around her. "We can do this, right?" "Right," the crowd replied, a murmured agreement rising like a tide. But just as they began to strategize, Clara's phone buzzed in her pocket. She checked it quickly and felt her heart sink. A text from her brother. A call for help. The message was clear. Trouble had found their family back home, and they needed her. Could she leave now when they were so close to creating something new? Or should she rush to her family's side, unsure of what kind of burden awaited her? Clara's mind raced with possibilities, torn between two worlds. What was the right choice? And if she left Maplewood's fight unfinished, would the people she had just pledged to serve be able to stand strong without her? Clara's throat tightened as she stared at her phone, the screen blurring under the weight of her tears. She felt as if the walls of the square were closing in on her. The vibrant discussions and hopeful plans for Maplewood faded into a distant hum, drowned out by the urgent message pulsing in her hand. "Clara?" Martin's voice pulled her back. He knelt beside her, concern etched on his face. "What's wrong?" She hesitated, the words struggling to break free. How could she explain that her brother needed her, that home felt so far away, and yet so heavy on her heart? "It's my family," she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. They're in trouble." Martin's expression shifted, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. He reached out, a calming presence in the storm of her thoughts. "You need to do what's right for you," he said gently, "but you also have people here who rely on you. They look to you for hope." The crowd's murmurings floated around them, eyes darting back and forth, absorbing the tension. They had all felt the momentum build, the hope swirling like newly fallen leaves in the autumn breeze. Clara battled with herself. Could she abandon this newfound sense of unity just when it was beginning to take root? "What if I lose this?" she breathed, her fear weighing heavy. "What if I leave, and it all falls apart?" "Don't think about what you might lose," Martin replied, firmly but softly. "Think about what you could be holding on to by staying. This community needs that fire in you." She felt his words reach her, but the pull of home was stronger, rooted deep in her heart. Memories flooded her mind, the smell of her mother's cooking, the laughter shared around the dinner table, the comforting presence of her brother in moments of doubt. Yet the community of Maplewood was shaping into something beautiful, something that could help them all. Clara's gaze flicked between Martin and the crowd. She could see faces, tired yet determined, absorbing the moments unfolding around them. Their shared purpose sparked something in her, a bond more profound than she had known before. "I want to help them," she confessed, "but I can't ignore my family." "That's okay," Martin encouraged, his eyes locking onto hers with understanding. "You can fight for both. Take care of your family first, and we'll be here when you come back. Keep us in mind. Let them be your strength while you're away." The knot in Clara's throat loosened, but her heart still struggled. Could she balance it all? Would her family be able to stand without her, or would she be leaving them in a time of need? She stood there, grappling with doubt and determination, until a determination settled over her. She would not let fear dictate her path. "I'll go," she said, her voice steady as she looked toward the crowd. "But I'll come back. Promise." The murmurs of support around her grew louder. "We'll be here, Clara," someone shouted, echoing others who felt the same. Clara took a deep breath, absorbing the energy of unity around her, before slipping her phone back into her pocket. She could sense the community backing her, even as she prepared to leave. But as she took a step back towards the thrumming pulse of her hometown, she glanced back at Martin, a new resolve forming within her. What if, by leaving for home, she could gather the strength and perspective needed to ignite Maplewood even further? Little did she know, the troubles waiting for her at home were far darker than she could imagine, and confronting them might lead her down a path she'd never expected. As she walked away, her heart ached at the weight of her choice and the uncertainties that lay ahead, but she felt hope burning brightly. Would she find what she was looking for when she returned? Or would she discover more than she ever anticipated? Each step echoed with questions, leading her to a destiny only time would reveal. Clara stood at the edge of Maplewood, her heart heavy as she prepared to leave for home. The warmth of the community enveloped her like a soft blanket, but she felt the pull of family tugging at her fiercely. With every step away from the square, where laughter had once buzzed, Clara felt the weight of all she'd built and all she was about to relinquish. But life was a series of choices. She mustered courage from the wellspring of support she had found among the townsfolk. Powerful memories blossomed in her mind. The laughter of Jake, the way the diner felt full of life, the camaraderie forged over cups of coffee. "Clara, wait," a familiar voice called, breaking through her whirlwind of thoughts. It was Ethan, sprinting toward her, determination etched on his face. "I heard about what happened. If you need to go, I understand, but please don't forget about us." She turned to meet his gaze, a mix of gratitude and uncertainty swirling inside her. "I won't forget. I just need to help my family. They need me." Clara's voice trembled, and she felt the sting of unshed tears. Ethan stepped closer, the warmth of his presence igniting a sense of reassurance. "You're not alone in this. We can hold down the fort while you're gone." His eyes bore into hers, filled with sincerity. "When you get back, we'll be here ready to rebuild, together." The strength in his words coursed through her veins like fresh air. Clara took a deep breath, the tight knot in her heart loosening a bit. I promise I'll return. We've built something amazing here. Ethan nodded, that radiant smile of his lighting up the moment. And we'll make it even stronger, just like we promised. As Clara turned to walk away, she cast a glance back at the town square, where people united under a shared vision of a revitalized community. It made her heart swell with pride. You all better wait for me, she called, her voice a mixture of laughter and determination. The townsfolk responded with cheers, a sound that echoed in her heart, urging her to find strength amid her uncertainty. Arriving at her childhood home felt surreal. Clara braced herself for what lied ahead, the worries of her brother, the chaos that shadowed her family. Yet, deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling she was also returning to herself. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Her brother, Jake, stood at the center, his expression strained. We didn't know if you were coming, he said, his voice wavering. We really need you, Clara. Clara rushed to him, enveloping him in a bare hug that whispered hope and love. I'm here now. We'll work through this together. The chaos of their lives had a way of dimming the joy she felt in Maplewood. But Clara remembered the speeches, the laughter, the thing that had fueled her fight for the diner. She pulled back, giving Jake her full attention. Tell me what's going on, she urged, feeling that fierce determination bubble back to the surface. As her brother opened up, detailing the struggles their family faced, financial woes, the pressure of looming bills, Clara felt fire in her belly. They were not alone in this. We'll find a way to face this. We have to be brave. Days passed. Clara balanced phone calls, arranging for help in Maplewood while reassuring Jake they would conquer their struggles. Each call ignited embers of strength within her, allowing memories of the diner and the town's spirit to guide her forward. Finally, after weeks filled with late nights and countless conversations, Clara had gathered enough resources to breach the cracks that had threatened her family's foundation. She not only found a way to support them, but had also rallied connections from Maplewood. Clara, Jake exclaimed one evening, his eyes sparkling with excitement. It's working. The bank was willing to extend the loan. We can breathe. Relief washed over her, warm and freeing, like sunlight after a storm. They hadn't just survived. They were clawing their way back to strength. It was that moment Clara realized she had grown in unexpected ways, alongside her family and the town she longed for. They were intertwined, each supported by the other, a community rising from ashes. Days later, Clara packed her bags, determination igniting in her heart. She had to return to Maplewood, not just to hold up her promise, but to fulfill the bond that promised to be even stronger after having navigated through so much uncertainty. As she drove back toward the heart of her community, excitement surged through her veins. She would not only rebuild the diner, she would reignite hope both in Maplewood and in herself. Each mile slipped away, and as she entered the town, Clara found a sense of purpose blooming anew. The heart of Maplewood awaited, ready to embrace her, just as she was ready to embrace it back. And at the corner of the diner, as she stepped out, she felt the warmth of familiarity wash over her like a comforting hug. The past, present, and future intertwined, a powerful testament to resilience and hope. Clara's heart was full as she headed toward the crowd gathering at the revitalized Heart and Soul Diner. Voices, laughter, and potential danced in the air. This was the moment where transformation thrived. As she joined the townsfolk, Clara couldn't help but think of their journey. It had been a winding path, filled with unexpected challenges. But in that moment, she felt like they had just begun to scratch the surface of their true potential. With laughter bursting from the crowd and the aroma of fresh coffee sweeping through the air, she knew their fight for Maplewood was just beginning. And together they would thrive. If you can feel the energy building from this journey, now is the time to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others feel this hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. What do you think will happen next? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show that you're part of this amazing community. Don't wait not even one more second to share.